Welcome, everyone. Hello. Welcome to our Tuesday Live. I have Jennifer Bauer and Lisa Knight with me today. So, this is a little different type of live than what we have, but we're getting to learn a lot today about the new World Geography curriculum coming out. It is absolutely stunning. I know you all are going to love it. So, I want to allow Jennifer and Lisa both some time to start off and tell us a little bit about themselves and anything they want to mention right now. So, Jennifer, if you'll get us started.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Bauer. I'm a homeschooling, I'm a veteran homeschooling mom. I have 7 kids. I work for Master Books. I'm a designer there, and so a lot of the curriculum you've probably seen my touch on it. I also used to do conventions, and so probably some of you I have seen at conventions, or you guys have seen me. And Lisa and I have written the World Geography high school course, and it has just been so much fun to do that.
I first got to meet Jennifer at a convention also in Ohio. And long ago, I was able to come and join her family and work that convention with her. So Lisa, if you'll tell us a little bit about you and your.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So Lisa Knight, I have lived all over with my husband and 4 kids, currently residing in Northern California, but met Jennifer back in, 2006 in Missouri, and we became fast friends and have been in each other's life ever since. I too am a veteran homeschool mom. All 4 of my kids are young adults now, and I have a grandbaby. So super excited. And my background, I've been a proofer, editor, curriculum consultant, helped do, we created a homeschool co-op when our little private school shut down. And so I have a real passion for the making curriculum come alive for students, probably because I'm the only one in my family that loves school. I don't understand, but and I have each of my kids was a very different type of learner. So, but yeah, that's my background. I currently, in addition to helping Jennifer with this project, I work for a company and helped create and manage a financial literacy program for students. And so, kind of am in a curriculum development kind of job that way too. So, did that give you what you want?
Yeah, it sounds like you both have a lot of experience just as homeschool moms, as well as being hands-on involved in curriculum now. And then now you've written one for all of us to enjoy. So we are very thankful for that. Could you give us a little bit of information about the course? First, let's start off with what is the targeted age and grade for this course? And this beautiful cover that we're getting to look at right now.
Well, and thank you to all the moms who voted on this one. I think we gave 4 options and had a lot of feedback. And I know all of my kids were voting for this one, so I'm glad the moms agreed.
Me too.
Yeah, this was definitely our favorite. And fun fact, my son is planning a trip to Iceland.
Oh,
these lovely photos that are in here. So we'll see what goes on there. But this is written geared toward 9th grade, but 9 through 12. And it would fulfill a geography credit. It would fill an elective credit. It is a 5-day-a-week course. And I think it's just really fun. You have here a table of contents, and we cover almost all which is, I think, uncommon for a lot of the geography courses out there. We're going to start in Africa, and we're going to move around the continent of Africa, and then we're going to move into Asia and kind of move around Asia and down into the Asian islands and up across Russia and into Europe. We're going to cover Europe and then end up jumping over into North America, coming down through Central America and South America. And then we'll cover the South Pacific and Australia, and we end with Antarctica. So We're going to cover all of the world from top to bottom.
They're going to get, a student's going to get a full coverage of world geography with this course then. So with that in mind, is this going to be one full high school credit for a high school student?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes.
And does, Lisa, does this course have any prerequisites to it?
No, it doesn't. It's really designed for somebody with zero experience, zero background, and yet would still be very interesting for somebody that is a geography buff or has some, some background, but no prerequisites.
Okay, so as we're looking at this table of contents and this beautiful photo here, another beautiful photo, which Jennifer, I do want you to tell us about this photo too, but I'm noticing that little magnifying glass there in the corner. So can you give us a little bit more about what that is and what students should expect when they see that?
Sure. So as we were picking up, as I was picking out a lot of these images, I was like, oh, they're so amazing. And how can you get a sense of how big some of these things are? So whenever you see this magnifying glass, that we want the students to take a better look, a closer look at the image and see if there's something in there that's going to give you a sense of scale of how big or how small something is. In this case, most everything is to be how big it is because the world is so vast. And so in this image, if you're looking around at it, in the center of the image towards the bottom, there is a big rock. Well, next to that rock, a bigger rock, next to that rock is a darker area. That is actually a guy on a bicycle. And thank you to my dog. So you can see the biker down there in the center bottom, and that just gives you a greater sense to the scale of how big this area is.
Well, that is pretty fascinating.
We're going to actually do that throughout a lot of the photos.
I think that students will enjoy that. It's like a little hunt within the book, that a challenge to them to see if they can actually find it. I enjoy challenges like that, and it's good to a good little break from when you need a little break of actually the content of the material. It's just a fun little break time to step away for that. Could you both walk through this with us and tell us what a week would be like, showing us some of the content that a student would be reading on a daily basis, what would be required in that, and then what some coursework would look like?
Absolutely. Jennifer, do you want me to take this one?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I'm not sure. I think Jennifer's just a little delayed for me. I'm not sure if that's for both, but I'm going to go ahead and go. Okay, so each day typically covers 2 pages. And so day 1 we do a snapshot of each country of the region. And so the program is broken into regions. When we start a brand new region, there is an extra, I believe, like 2 pages of front matter talking about the region as a whole. And then day 1 is an overview of the countries, going back and forth. There's some map work. And then if you can see those bullet points, we're really working with the students and just piquing their interest, not making it super like lots of reading heavy, but there's lots of text. But do you know what I mean? Like where there's bullet points to hopefully like, what are the Tatra Mountains? What is the Alpine Sea? We want them to be like, what are these things? We want them to feel very curious. And then if there's room, there is like we have the national park featured there on that page. There may be a feature, and then some beautiful imagery as well. And then the teacher guide for day 1 follows a format. We have map work at the top, and then we have a combination of multiple choice and matching that cover that day's topics, as well as usually it's about 2 critical thinking questions. We want them to interact and we want them to think. This course isn't just about memorization of facts. We really want them to get curious and really think about the world around them. And then after that, we have optional projects. And so that would be the next page of the teacher guide for that day right here. And these are all teachers' discretion. We have the disclaimer. get your parents' permission before you do any research. But it's designed to be a jumping off point. Jennifer and I got so excited about the different, like, well, Jennifer, hey, Lisa, what about this project? We could do this. Hey, Jennifer, did you see this? Let's do this. So we had so much fun with this, creating jumping off points for this curriculum. Again, completely optional. As a busy homeschool mom, Jennifer and I, we talked about this. This curriculum just designed to be open and go. And if you're like bare minimum, you've got a kiddo that just give me the book, let me answer the worksheet. That's done. It's good. It's good enough. They can do that. And I had one of those kids. And then one of my kids loved projects. Like, and in fact, there was one project, like there was a game and he was a little older, it's like middle school. And the project felt very babyish to me, but I didn't say anything because I'm like, if he pushes back, we'll figure out something different. This was for like reading. He got right into it. Didn't question it, like just loved it. And so these are, if you've got extra time, you can also, I mean, some of these are research. You can use it as writing. So we got really creative and out of the box, but those are on typically every day. There's going to be at least a few ideas, but oftentimes 5. And then day 2, Jennifer, do you want to talk about day 2? Tanda?
Sure. Am I delayed still, or can you hear me good?
We can hear you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so day 2 is normally going to be a couple of the larger type features that we want to spend more time on in the region. It could be 2 features, it could be maybe 4 on some of them, but just to give you a better idea of what is something unique in that area and to explain it a little more. Here we have the Karst Plateau and some of the different caves there. We go over some geography terms. On the next slide, this was one that I was so excited to find, the salt mine, and it's underground, and they actually have like Easter services here. And so it's carved into, these images are carved into the salt mine. Just super, super cool. And then side note, fun little note, I'm working on American history, One Nation Under God. And I was doing something on the Monument Men, and they actually found a lot of our. So it's just really fun how what we're trying to do here is to help tie everything together, to give the kids a broader understanding of, like this isn't just geography, but geography impacts history and impacts the government, and they all just kind of work together and they interconnect so much. And if the kids can just have an understanding of that, it will just tie stuff together for them.
Yeah, I love how y'all have done that throughout the curriculum, as well as integrated different types of exercises and activities to cover different types of learning styles. And we're, again, very grateful for each of you and the personal experience you have as moms and curriculum writers and investment in that, and making sure that all of our different types of learners are covered, because we're all uniquely created by God, and then just tying it all together throughout all of the book. I love how you've done that. Okay, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, let me take this one for a little bit yet, Lisa. On day 1, the map work that you're going to do on day 1 is more of a macro view to give you an idea of where the countries lie within the continent and in the world. It's not going to deal so much with the macro features of the region. It starts more of that. And so if you can flip a couple of pages ahead, we provide maps for you to do all of the map work on. And we'll give you a certain amount to do every day on the map work there. And then you'll have your multiple choice and your matching questions and a couple of critical thinking related to the day's work. And then again, you have these projects that you can assign, jump off of, if your child has an interest in something or it's mentioned in another subject, you can just always jump in there and give them some more to do with it. So
on a daily basis, how long would you say, as we're flipping through each of these days and the reading and the exercises, what would you say would be an amount of time, an estimated amount of time that a student would spend on a daily work day?
Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, if they're getting, their one credit, you would want to plan for 45 minutes to an hour, right, per session. If you're in a state that you have to log those hours. And so it's going to depend on the reading speed of the child, and then how many projects you want to do. So, again, looking back to my own experience, I have some kiddos would get through their work really quickly. And then some would get just so fascinated that they would do deep dives. But I would say, as a general rule, our goal is to stick to that, the ability to get that credit, that you should be able to still get it done in under 45 minutes to an hour, unless they're passionate and want to do more. Did I answer that right, Jennifer?
Yes. Yes. And,
Yes.
and that tends to be the case with most all courses, their reading ability, and then just how much they want to personally get involved in the material for the day. And as we've mentioned, you've offered many different options of things to do. So if you have that student that just wants to read and answer the questions, they can. But if they want to dig deeper, they're able to do that as well. And then, as you mentioned, checking your state laws to see what's required. And then I know also it's a thought of this is, okay, this is world geography. Can it take the place of a history course at the high school level? And again, that would be something that we would encourage our families to check their state laws and see what's required for them to do. But yes, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about what we're looking at now.
So with so many fun things. I wanted to make a comment on there, is that I don't think that, we tried to put enough interesting things in there that the students are not just going to breeze through it. There should be something in this book that will intrigue every student out there. And so I just wanted to make sure I put that in there. So on Wednesdays, or the third day of the week, we are going to talk about the economy a little bit. And you might be thinking, why do I need to know about the economy of the region? Well, it's just to help give you an idea of what's there. The world is so vast and so many different things out there that the different regions specialize in, and how they make their money. And I just think that that's a really good thing to know. We have I try and feature one or two items from the region that would be a little bit different to explain what those are. Here we have Bohemian glass, and a little bit of glass making in there. That would be a great side jumping off project to learn about that. We're going to cover some of the top economic industries and agricultural industries. There are some places out there that have no agricultural export, nothing agriculturally. And then we'll talk about the real GDP, and that's like a paycheck that the country gets for their exports and their production. And it's not meant to be, all of the charts that we use are not meant to be hard and fast rules and oh, this is definite, you need to memorize these numbers. It's to give you a feel of what it's like in the region. I was looking through some of the numbers again last night, like some of the different charts, and there's one area where we're talking about 4 or 5 different countries, and one is producing like $3 billion worth of GDP, and a country right next to it is like hundreds of billions of dollars. So why is that? It's why is there such a disparity between the two? And let's see. And then on the back side of that page, we talk about the culture, some of the different cultural groupings, and we are going to mention government, talk about the government of the area, some fun facts, some different ethnic groups and languages, population. Again, these are all just to give you an idea of the area, a feel what the areas are like.
And if I can jump in real quick.
And then you'll have the worksheet.
Jennifer, can I jump in real quick?
Go on.
The history credit, right? Granted, yes, you have to check your laws, but intentionally it's world geography and cultures. And so we've got the economics in there. We've got the governmental, we're going to get to the religion, but some cultural, because it's all tied together. Geography affects what they're able to produce or sell or how they live. And by giving this kind of overall snapshot and including all of the pieces, I think it gives a much better representation of the people that God created in our world and how they live, and then also how we can pray. So I just wanted to throw that in there, but I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jen.
Oh, well, thank you. Again, the worksheet for that day is going to be very similar to the other ones. You'll have some map work, matching, multiple choice, and some critical thinking questions. And then you'll also have your projects on the back. And again, there's a lot of projects that we have offered. A lot of them. Well, and that's not to make you feel pressure that you have to do any, because
Right.
Again, you can just do the very basic and it's going to count. It's going to be everything your student needs. But so often, if we can spark something within the child, that desire to learn, that desire to, you've poured all of this into them and they just are doing the very basics, but then you can that excites them. And there's nothing more exciting to a mom than to see your child get excited about learning and want to grab hold of that. That is just, if you've struggled to pour into your children all of the time and it just seems like you're fighting it, and then they can find that one or two projects and just take off with it. It is so rewarding.
And we made the projects different too. Some of the projects are writing. Some of the projects are mapping. Some of them would lend towards somebody that's crafty or artistic, and journaling. So we've tried to, even in the projects, make them diverse. Not, again, when you look at this, it's not like, oh my gosh, they should do 6 of these. No, it's which one of them will pique your child's interest if you decide. So that's the hope there.
Yeah, I love that. So a question about the projects, are any like cooking and recipes or anything like that from different countries included in the course at all?
Do you want me to?
I'll let Lisa take this one.
So we have touched on food a little bit. However, one of our partners, he has a brief mention in this work, is a foodie furiously getting ready for the companion video course, in which so it's my husband, and he honestly could be a professional chef, and he is going region by region researching recipes and food, and the excitement level in my house right now is like off the charts. So TBD. There are a few little things in here, but our hope is that we will be bringing more to the table.
Listen, that excites me as well, and I know that excites our entire community of moms, because that is just something that even through the elementary world geography and cultures, that has been a favorite aspect, is that cooking aspect. And I say that even from my own family. It was a day, like when we did the elementary one from Master Books, that was a family day where we were all in on the cooking, and it led to what you're talking about now that your family's experiencing with doing some research into the foods of the country. And we had a lot of fun. So I know that's going to bring not only education, but also just some family time together. So we're all excited about that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So on Thursday of the week, we're going to talk about religion, the different religions in the area, just again to give you an overview, because it does all tie together with geography. And so we're gonna talk about the religions a little bit, what the Christian population is in that area, and the impact that they can have. We're also going to touch on some social issues. Again, where we do this in a very gentle way, but those are things that are all very impactful to the region. And then on the backside of that day, we have a timeline for the region, and we try and some history in there. And we're going to talk about things that have impacted the region geographically, or in the realms that, culturally or governmentally, in that area. Then we also have some prayer points and a short prayer in there. And then again, we'll have the worksheet, the teacher guide for it. We'll answer some questions there. And then on the back of that, we have an area for prayer. The student to actually do their own little prayer journal for a region or a culture within what we're studying.
Mm-hmm. And even the projects are geared a little bit more towards, there's the option to do mapping for the nations that we're praying for, researching a missionary in that area with parents' permission. But I think this can really add to, like, why does it matter that we're studying geography? It matters because there are a whole lot of people that still need to know Jesus, and we're helping students have more of an awareness of the world around them and the people that need Jesus, and then they're invited to pray for them.
Yeah, I love that. I love how that ties in just with the motto of Master Books, of ink on paper to touch eternity.
Yeah.
That even through this, there's a focus on the gospel and reaching those in other lands, and praying specifically for them. Love that you guys have included that, and brings it to the forefront of our students to be mindful of those in other regions.
Right. And I do know, Master Books has a lot of new readers out related to the missionaries. And so those could be tied in also.
Great
To
idea.
the regions that we're studying.
Yeah.
So then on Friday in the region, we're just going to talk about some more really fun features. When the Lord dropped this into my heart to do a geography book, I started, because I'm visual, I started looking for some really cool features, and I just had this folder of all of these screenshots, hundreds and hundreds of screenshots. And of course, I had to research them and make sure that they're all real and not AI. The ones for the regions that I have found that are just like so cool. And so we're going to talk about those. Nothing is going to be a deep dive on this day. It's just going to give you a feel of the region, and really cool pictures. And
Jennifer,
so you've got to hear.
I think you were just so led of the Lord, because I don't know about you, but by the time Friday comes, sometimes you're like, I'm so ready to be done. And so you can think of this as fun Friday. And Jennifer, like, the pictures and the features that you found are, they're so fun. I think parents, I know by 9th grade, a lot of times the kiddos are able to just kind of do it themselves, but you're gonna be like, ooh, what's there? You're going to want to read it too. It's just so fascinating.
And you're right. Everybody is ready for a break by the time Friday comes. So thank you for that thought in that.
And then on Friday, you're going to have some multiple choice questions on the new material that you've had today. And then you'll have a review option. So the parents that need to have an assessment or some sort of grading measure will have this. You've got some map work for them to do. And then on the back side, you've got 10 questions related to the learning for the week. And actually, I think a couple of the really fun ones there are the last ones. Lisa came up with those.
Yes, we wanted, throughout this program, we've got some repeat questions that give the students some power, and just we want to know, what is your favorite part? So, like, which country would you like to visit of this region and why? what is your favorite feature from this lesson and why? So as long as they answer it, guys, there's 2 points in your favor already. But it's making it fun again. We're wanting to keep that love of learning going and also get them excited. I don't know if you can tell or not, but Jennifer and I, we like the thought of traveling, and hopefully this will feel like you get to actually kind of get snapshot and visit, whet your appetite. Where do you want to go?
Mhm. Yeah, that's fun. And all students like to give their opinions. So, and especially when, and our high school students, especially as parents, as we know, middle school is when they really start getting their voice, and then high school, they're fully expressing that to us. So throwing in those extra things where they have to give us their opinion is always good, and they get points for it also. We did have a couple of questions come in that we haven't really covered yet, so I want to touch on those as we're talking about the assignments and the things that they're doing. One question is, does the program have any drawing and labeling? We did talk about maps, and they're going to be labeling maps. Any type of drawing that they're going to have to do in the course?
I don't know, Lisa, do you remember any specific projects? I just off the top of my head as a mom, I'm thinking that there's some amazing rock formations. I think I don't know if it was in the one we looked at or in one of the images to come, there's some rocks that look like a dog. That could be a great opportunity for a journal type entry, a book entry, some of the different rock formations that are in there.
So as far as the drawing and the labeling, we've provided the outlines of the maps. And so there may be placing mountains and labeling. And then the projects, though, there are opportunities in some of the projects they could either sketch what we're asking them to sketch, or if they are, so many kids like Canva, do digital art. There are some of those opportunities scattered throughout the program.
Okay. So you mentioned those projects. So talking about that, is there some type of supply list or things that families should already have on hand to do the projects, or will each project have a supply list, or is that something you included because all those projects are optional?
Right. I would say, paper or a notebook, color pencils, pens and markers. If you have a child that is averse to the sound of a pencil on paper, I had one of those. So, something to write and do the map or coloring work with. But otherwise, it would be project by project. I think we've kept it pretty minimal. So there's not this overarching big supply list. For example, we have a feature on cocoa beans, chocolate, I think, where we said, do I have this right, Jennifer, where we invited them to go taste. We didn't give a supply that would be optional. You guys would go to the store with them and hunt down some cool chocolate. So kind of like that. But as far as to do the course, really just those, whatever your child likes to draw with.
Okay, that's good. So things they might already have on hand or can easily get locally at a store, or the fun shopping trip to the chocolate aisle for the specialty chocolate. That sounds fun for me. As long now you just need to throw in, there's one about coffee beans as well or something. Throw those two together.
I think there is something about coffee beans.
I think there is.
Well, yay. I'm already excited about the course. Right there. Okay, so looking here at some other questions that have come in before we move on. Going back to where we talked about the different regions and the prayers and thinking specifically about them and reaching them with the gospel, in that, do you share a little bit about the different religions in those regions?
We do. We do not dive deep into a lot of the nuances of the different religions, but we do talk about them, and we bring up how they're different from Christianity and what the Bible says. So whenever we talk about something from another religion, we do always counter it. So you can be confident that your child is not being drawn into a different religion, something, a cult or anything.
Well, and it sounds like that would even pair. I mean, this is a high school world geography course, so that would pair nicely with our comparative religions course as well as they're studying through. So that brings up another question. If either one of you are familiar with our Map Trek course, that courses the supplies and the resources we have through Map Trek, and they could pull in some of those maps into this course as well. So lots of great resources that can be used.
They could pull in those additional resources if they wanted. However, we do provide all of the maps that they would need.
And that's good. Thank you for pointing that out. I know that will be a question that moms will want to know. Are they going to have to go searching for any maps? But everything is included for them. And as you mentioned in the beginning, you really tried to make this as open and go, pick up and easy for a family and a mom as you possibly could. So thank you for that.
Right.
So with each week, are they sticking to just one region each week?
When we introduce a new continent, they'll have 2 pages on the continent, just in general of the continent, and then it's been divided up into regions, and you only study that region for the week.
Okay. And it has been mentioned, but we'll point it out one more time that all of these things they're mentioning, all of the additional projects and exercises that we're mentioning, they are not required for you as moms. They are all optional, and you are encouraged to pick from them based upon your student and the type of learning style and what's going to be of interest to them the most. And they've included multiple different types of projects with that very specifically in mind. Anything else you want to add about the projects overall?
Sure. For planning, okay, to help the moms. So let's say you're going to incorporate some of the projects. I would, and kids at that age like to have the choice is I would say you could sit down with them and however far out you want to plan, whether it's per week, per month, per quarter, per semester, and invite them to go through and however many you want to do or they want to do, let them pick them out in advance and circle them. And then that lets you know how to prepare. Like if you need to plan a trip to the store or have extra paper on hand. But I think that would be one way for those projects to not feel overwhelming, if that makes sense.
Yes, that definitely does. Anything else, Jennifer, you wanted to add to that?
Well, I was just going to add, we were talking about the different things. Just a really fun little thing. I had the book printed out and asked the kids to go through and look at it and such. And it was so fun, the different learning styles. Some of them gravitated to the larger pictures and some gravitated to this or that. And one of the kids, they flipped through all of the really beautiful pictures really fast. But when they got to the data charts, they read everything in them. And so some kids may not want anything to do with the data, and other ones, that's going to be what kind of floats their boat there.
That's actually a really good call
we
out.
try to, yeah.
So speaking of the data charts, tell us a little bit more about those. What are they? What types of data is included? How are we using them in the course?
Well, the data charts are the ones that we had talked about on the economy, to just get a feel of what the regions produce and how much they produce, the religions, their culture, their language, how long they are expected to live, their literacy rates. Some literacy rates are in the 40s. Whereas other regions, they're 100% almost in the entire region. And for me, as I was researching all of that, I'm like, why is this? You know, why is there such a disparity between the different regions, or even within the countries within the regions? So that's always something that is a great discussion tool. You know, I used to encourage the moms at the conventions and within our own home that dinner tables are a great place for family discussions. And so I would encourage that.
Exactly. It's our hope to bring awareness. Really, it's not for memorization. I don't think we have a single project around the data tables, but I could be wrong. There may be a few in there, but it's more for awareness. And Jennifer, I like that dinner table discussion. So.
Yeah.
So if a student is working independently on this course, and a parent has them checking their daily work, do answer keys show map answers for moms who didn't necessarily read the chapter? Are the answer keys easy for mom to use, I guess, basically?
We tried to make them easy for a mom to use. At this point, a lot of times we're encouraging the students to check their own work at that point. So the regional maps are all there for the parent or student to check. Then the answer keys are in the back for the multiple choice and matching, and an idea of the critical thinking answers. Of course, they would all vary based on your students. And then when the review answers are separated in the back, so if the parent wants to use those as an assessment, they can tear those out, and so the student doesn't have access to them. And that map work is also, for the reviews, are also included back there.
And all the moms said amen.
Yes. It should be easy to use.
Perfect, because that means mom does not have to, encouraging that independence means mom does not have to be side by side going through the course with the student. She is able to assign this to the student and do it.
Yes.
Did you have something else to add for that?
You know, the images are so exciting that they would draw the parents in. They're going to want to read through them also.
Yeah, I have a feeling this will be one of the courses. We have conversation go on in the apps of what course are you as mom doing? I have a feeling this will become one of those courses due to the content and the beauty of the photos and just the fun things that you've included as well. It naturally draws mom in because it's one that I'm personally intrigued. I want to travel, and so just for that fact, it draws me in. And so I think you're going to find plenty of moms that are finding themselves side by side with students interested in what they're learning, for sure. So with that being said, too, as far as students and doing those assessments, you mentioned assessments. That brings us to, we're high school level, we're recording on a transcript. Maybe we are going to use those assessments as those regular grades that we're having to record. So on a transcript, would you say, besides world geography, is there a possibility that a family could use this as an economics? You mentioned some of the data charts and the different economics things in there. Would that be something you would say could be used as an economics credit?
Jen, you want me? So I would say, because I had to look into this, I had some kiddos thinking about playing sports in college, and so the NCAA route. So speaking honestly, if you were to use to get an economics credit, you would really have to do your due diligence with your child and document like how much time is spent in that portion, and potentially look for the projects that deal with economics. And you would need to do a little bit extra work, but as it's designed right now, it's designed for awareness in the economics. And so you just I think you would have the addition of some of the projects that are around, and they're fun projects still, because there's projects around things that are related to economics that aren't just researching the data tables. Does that make sense? But I think it's just, and it's like any other curriculum that's the multi-layered. If your student is really coming up with the scriptures, doing the prayer journal, and really getting into the religion portion, could you use that as part of your Bible component? Yes, but I feel like it's kind of a case by case and kind of on your honor. I think there's definitely enough in there to incorporate writing. For sure, we have a lot of research projects where they're writing, and then also, like you mentioned, Jen, I think the missionaries, those additional books that Master Books had, adding those in literature. So there are lots of ways to jump off and use it for other credits. I just think being mindful that the substance is there in case you're ever having to fill out a worksheet and submitting it for college.
Yes, I've been there myself. So along the lines still with that and assessments and projects, what about grading for these projects? Do you have any guidelines or tips for grading the projects, the additional projects that are included?
That's a really good point. We don't have necessarily a rubric for the projects in the curriculum right now. But that being said, I would say, your child, what they're capable of, and having an honest discussion maybe at the beginning of the year for projects. This is the expectation, and you just determine for your child and their capabilities. So if it's, write incomplete sentences, if it's, like keep it neat, or, I would say depending on how much time they put into it, a project could be worth 100 points, right? But again, we've left it pretty, I think, subjective because we made them optional. If that makes, yeah.
Yeah, that's very helpful. That will be very helpful for moms as they are thinking about the course and how to use it. And that may even help them determine which projects they pick sometimes based on what they have involved.
I would also say too, moms could use them as, okay, we all want our child to do well, right? And if they didn't do so great on a worksheet, you could say, okay, well, a lot of times I'll have them, I believe in mastery. So like, go fix it, like go correct your work. And then if you correct your work, you get the points. But you could also say, you can raise your score by pick a project to do, so you can also use them that way as well.
Good idea. Good idea for that. True. So what about if a mom loves this course and she wants to go and talk to her co-op about using it, or even if we have a school interested in using it, could you give us some thoughts on a school or a co-op and how they could best use this course?
All right. Well, I would say, okay, like in a school or co-op, obviously students would each have a textbook. The teacher would be going through the day's reading. I always encourage having the students doing the reading and calling on volunteers, getting them involved that way. And then when it comes time for the worksheets, they can work individually, work in pairs, work in small groups to accomplish those worksheet tasks. And then a teacher could, I would say, in your prep time, I would probably pick some projects to do and to assign. There's so many. I mean, every week would have a project, actually every day would have a project that would be usable for a teacher. And as far as co-ops go, those projects, so many would be so much fun for students to do in a group setting, and just get creative with. And so I think this curriculum lends very well to both settings. And especially with it having a way to grade, having that map work already built in, makes it very doable for each.
Thank you. And I'm picturing like we have science fairs. You could have a world geography fair and show your different projects that have been done throughout the year. Even an individual family could do that if multiple students are doing the course, and the kids could show us their projects and pick their favorite ones for the year or whatever. So,
Absolutely. You could have a world cultures night too.
oh,
Because
yes.
we cover cultures in every single one. Where we live at our church, we actually have that. We have a lot of, there's a school here and there's a lot of students from different countries, and they actually prepare food, and you buy a ticket and you go in and you eat all of their food and you get to see their clothing. And how fun would that would be for a school or a co-op or even a family.
So definitely bringing in the food, and touching on that again, you brought in Master Books Academy when you first introduced the food idea in that answer. So talk to us. Can you guys talk to us about Master Books Academy? Will there be a course? It sounds like there is. What the thoughts are and that, and anything you want to tell us about the Master Books Academy course in the future.
Well, we have a very excited person. My husband's already working on it. Again, it's gonna be somewhat partially food based. We're still kind of fleshing it out. So moms, if there's any, we're open to ideas, but some of the things that we've heard, that Jennifer did such an amazing job picking these photos, and we already got feedback like we want to see them blown up. And so we are planning on incorporating quite a few of the photos, especially like the magnifying glass ones, and being able to zoom them in so students can see. So utilizing and really jumping off of some of the features, talking about the culture, doing the food. But the goal is it's not a replacement of this course. It is a complement and designed to be fun. And that being said, I believe we are looking at the option to having a graded assessment component in there that auto grades for parents. That was important to me. Grading is part of the bane of my existence, trying to keep up with 4 kids. So the easier the grading was a key for me. And so we are looking at that too. Did I miss anything on that, Jennifer?
Nope, I think that you did good. I'm looking at these pictures again, and I was like, oh, I remember that. That was so fun.
Well, it sounds like the Academy course is going to be a true enhancement to the curriculum. And thank you for that. And Jennifer, because you're talking about all of these beautiful photos that we're looking at right now, tell us what we're like. Explain the photos more. Give us your heart behind them and what amazing photos you chose. And just tell us about it.
Well, I'm visual. I'm a graphic designer, and so many of my kids are visual. So I wanted, not just trees, but to pull in the student into the environment. What is it that they're going to like? This one and the next one is one of the spreads in Russia, and it was one of my kids' favorite. I would have loved to just do a huge coffee table book of these, because some of the colors are just so amazing and so cool. Here, this is a lake, and we've got the graphic of the different depths of the lake, and some of what you're going to see there. We also talk about the lake and how it freezes, and how, I don't know, it's just so cool. The beautiful mountains. Again, here's one where we have the magnifying glass. And so even here down towards the bottom, you can see a road down there. And if you just think in your mind how big a road is, that's a huge, in our area, we don't have anything with mountains that big to look around. And this was one of my favorites. Sorry, they're all my favorites. I was looking through my printout last night. The book's supposed to come in, I think, this week into the warehouse, the student book, and then the teacher guide should be in the next week or two. And so you'll be able to order the sets. I think the end of the month is when they're planning for them to be ready. But anyway, I was looking through the pictures and I was like, oh, that one's so fun. Oh, I love that. And I just, here's that dog that we talked about. in the bottom photo there. It kind of looks like the
Yes.
dog's looking over the backside. And then this other vertical image here, the blue one, let's stay right there. Yeah, there's a diver in between there, and that's actually in Iceland. And the one side is a North America plate, and the other side is a Eurasia plate. And so that's actually where the plates have been splitting between the two. It goes right through our Iceland there. My kids think that we're going to do that. But it's pretty cold there. We're checking into it a little bit more. It's pretty cold there most of the time. So, yeah. And then the Canadian Rockies and the American Rockies, they're just so beautiful. There are so many beautiful places in the world. You can't begin to cover all of them. And so just kind of had to pick and choose a lot. Oh, yeah. See, we want to go there too. I just want to go to all of these places. You look at that and it's like, God, that's so beautiful. And yeah, this one down at the bottom has a magnifying glass too. And up at the very top of the waterfall, there's some people sitting, and they're really tiny compared to that waterfall. And yeah, it just gives a sense of like how vast. I think we can get so confined, especially after the, like COVID and such, where we were like told we had to stay home and not go anywhere. And so we tend to have more of a small mindset almost of how big the world is. And it's just so big. And there's in areas that we don't think about,
Well, and you've done an amazing job, both of you, of picking the correct content and just activities to remind us and teach us all of what an amazing creation of God, honestly. And as you mentioned, we are so confined into our little areas, our little towns. I mean, I live in a small little town, and so it's hard to imagine sometimes all of these things that are amazingly created by God out there. So through this course, you're allowing us to be exposed to all of God's creation, and then think about it mindfully also about reaching the world for Christ. And so with this course, from each of you, I would love for you to share just what do you hope students gain and remember the most after they have gone through this course? What impact do you hope it makes on them?
My heart with this is just that, and I kind of summed this up in when we get to Antarctica, is that the world is just so amazing, and God has just created such wonderful things, and there's just so much out there. I just want the kids to know that God is just so creative and so big, and there's just so much out there for them, for each one. Everybody out there, there's just so much out there, and it's good, even in the fallen state that we live in, like after the fall and the flood, it's not near as perfect it is going to be, or is, and it's still so amazing. It is just so amazing, and as beautiful and as everything is, God still loves each and every one of us. I mean, he knows the plans that he has for us. And it's, I just want them to know how good he is and to see it in the world.
The word that came to mind actually was hope. And, that they don't feel bogged down, either the students or the parents. They don't feel bogged down like this is just one more thing I have to do, but they're drawn in. Again, I would echo everything that Jennifer said. I agree with. But that they're filled with hope for their future, hope to engage with the Lord in praying for those that they don't know, that greater awareness, and really, again, touching on, Jennifer, you kind of said it all, but Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for good and not for evil, to give you hope and a future. maybe when the students are interacting with this material, that there's something that God highlights to them that touches their heart, that actually puts them on a trajectory that he has for their future. That would be amazing. So.
Well, thank you both for joining us today and for explaining all the things about the curriculum and then also sharing your hearts with us. We can tell that you're both very passionate about this, that you've put a lot into the course, very thoughtfully and purposefully created for each of us to be able to use in our homes. And we thank you for that. And thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.